And we actually saw reports coming out, a lot of experts on what is taking place right now with potential war and all of this. They're saying that they thought that it was going to be Russia, they thought that it was going to be China, and they're saying that it's actually looking like it's going to be Israel that could be kicking off some serious events here right now in 2024. And they're saying this could lead to all-out conflict, global conflict, World War III. And again,
Jeremiah 50:45. Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord that he has taken against Babylon, and his purpose that he has proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. Kaholo Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Kakodash. Double honors and salutations unto Yahweh, Wa Yahweh Shah, Wa the elders and apostles of GMS, our heads, our leaders. Double honors unto you as well. Dwada for all of your diligence throughout all these years. You're definitely worthy of the title. Shalom to the 144,000 men that are preaching this truth at this very hour, scattered throughout the world. Shalom unto you, your pa brothers, and shalom to the innumerable 1/3, which consists of men, women, and children that have been blessed with the mark of the Dua, which is exemption from the judgment that is fast approaching, and who have been ordained to believe on the names of Yahweh, Wa Yahweh Shah, and truth and sincerity, as that is the real names of the Heavenly Father and His Son in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew. I'm the brother Yazari Allah from the GMS Dallas camp, coming back at you with another quick hit lesson, Abaratazah, meaning Lord willing, and be edifying unto those who are meant to receive it. Okay, so as you heard here in the video, all right, a lot of different nations thought they were going to be either China or Russia that was going to kick off this World War III incident, right? But that's not the case, all right? Starting with our head apostles on down, we have been prophesying and letting you know it's going to be Israel that's going to kick this off, all right? The least of the flock. All right, so let's just go into that word, least of the least, if you will, just so we can get some understanding of it. Or should I say, yeah, least, let me see where it's at, surely the least, here we are, H6810, right? We'll go to the root word, H6819, right, what's that say there? Toss R, right? To be or grow insignificant, grow small, right? Obadiah 1:12, behold, I've made thee small amongst the heathen, thou art greatly despised. Israel is beginning to be greatly despised throughout the earth, right? Goes on to say what? 1948. Who's considered the 1948ers? Let's go into this. What's that talking about? See that? The 1948 Arab-Israeli War. When they went into that land in 1948 and declared themselves to be Israel, the people of the book. You see, these are the least of the flock, all right? The small hats, right? The 1%ers, if you will, right? So going back into that, here, where was the word here? Tassar, as a matter of fact, this here, all right, you see that? Let's go and grab that in, I believe it's matter of fact. Yeah, let's just grab it. Slovakia. We'll go here. All right, and I think it is here. All right, see? Same word when you go into that. Tasar, an Israelite. Now we know in the Jewish encyclopedia, all right, it states that it is uncommon, all right, or not correct or incorrect to call a modern day Jew an Israelite, right? That's in their encyclopedia book, right? And actually when you go into the word here, as a matter of fact, where is it here? I believe it is here. There it is. This Encyclopedia Britannica, Jewish, what's it say? Citizen of a state of Israel are called Israelis, because that's what this is meaning. A term carrying no ethnological or religious condemnation. You see that? Are the citizens of Israel called Israelites? What's that say? No, they're not. It's a term carrying no ethical or religious connotations. Okay, so they're Israelis. That's what the 1948ers are talking about in the least of the flock, right? In this precept that we're bringing out. Now we see that the prophets have been saying this, as I said, starting with our head apostles for over 30 years. All right, and who were the Chaldeans? The Chaldeans were the ancient elites of the Babylonian Empire. And who are they today? Amalek, the small hats, right? The JOOs in our land today, the least of the flock. All right, and we see, Shalakia, that they are drawing all these nations out into World War III. All right. Now we knew, starting with our head apostles on down, when we prophesied about this, okay, and been prophesying about this, that Israel was going to do something to draw all of these nations out into the war. It's not Russia. Scriptures let it be known it's not going to be Russia. It was not going to be China. It was going to be the least of the flock to draw everyone out. All right. Now we're seeing today what it's done to draw everyone out here with this Hamas-Iran war that's going on. All right, and it goes on to say, surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. Right, Israel and America are going to be destroyed by ICBM missiles, made desolate. You see, Israel will be rebuilt, the land of Israel, because that's the Lord's choice land. America and all that are here are going to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. Right, and when you read Zechariah 14, chapter 12th verse, it goes into gruesome detail on what that's going to look like. Read it. This is the time that we're in right now. This is where we're headed right now. You see, the Lord has set his men up to proclaim, all right, prophesy, before, phesai, speak before it happens. Matter of fact, let me go to Ezekiel 3:17. Son of man, I've made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the words at my mouth and give them warning for me. You see, so ultimately this word is going out for the nation of Israel, chiefly the elect, to wake up and get that salvation and get that covering and be beamed the hell up out of here before all this hell breaks loose. You see, so the only way that you can be able to be warned, or you're able to warn someone of something is coming, is if you were given an insight or understanding to what's getting ready to happen beforehand. Right? And that's what the Lord has done. He's given us that, starting with our head apostles on down, the insights, the secrets, right? All throughout history, this was something that the Lord's done before he was getting ready to cast judgment onto a nation or to a people, right? Jeremiah 28, matter of fact, let me grab that. Jeremiah 28:8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and evil and pestilence. You see that? So everything that they said that was going to happen, happened. The same as today. All right? So we see that the U.S. is going to war with Iran. All right? They have passed what's called a resolution bill, all right, which has been pretty much officially introduced to the Congress, okay, stating that America basically needs to defend itself against nuclear war attacks from Iran. All right? So this is the time period that we're in right now. The least of the flock, Israel, is drawing everyone out into this World War III. All right? And America and all these other nations that are going to be joined unto them are going to be made desolate, destroyed. America is chiefly going to be destroyed and never be rebuilt again. You see? Matter of fact, there is a bill. It's called the SJ Senate Joint Resolution 106, and it says Joint Resolution 106 is to authorize the use of military forces against the Islamic Republic of Iran for threatening the national security of the United States for the development of nuclear weapons. You see that? Check this out. So this is what's happening. This is what the SJ Senate Joint Resolution 106 bill is about. That's being introduced to Congress. Right? It says we have obtained nuclear weapons but have not announced it. Now, we believe, and this is Iran, that all of these nations have ICBM capability. You think they're going to go and tell America? Of course not. This goes back into, again, all of the weak saying that we are strong now. They're being emboldened because now they have weaponry of their own of mass destruction. And we believe that they've been had them. Okay? All right? Because we know as scripture says that all of these nations are going to come together against Babylon the Great. Right? And destroy her. All right? So this is prophecy in the making. And this is what's going to cause all of the nations to be gathered. As the Lord says, he's going to gather the nations over into the Middle East for this World War III. The Valley of Jehoshaphat. Yehoshaphat, the Lord's decision. Right? And this is happening right now.
Well, the U.S. is now sending out more defense military troops. They are sending the troops over to the Middle East in preparation for what is to come, and it's coming out across the news media headlines right now. So, if you are a praying individual, pray for our world, pray for our nation, pray for Israel, pray for what is unfolding, because right now it's looking like it's getting real. It's getting real right now. We're getting really close to the war. It looks like the United States and Israel are getting ready to prepare for war with Iran, and it looks like we could be on the brink of World War III.
Exactly. Joel 2:20. But I will remove far from you the northern army, North America, and I will drive them into a land barren and desolate, with his face towards the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he has done great things. Right, you see? So that's what's happening right now. The Lord is causing all of these nations, America, this drafting and bringing military officials and personnel over to the Middle East, right? We know when you go into that word barren and desolate, that's talking about Saudi Arabia, okay? The Middle East. The East Sea is the river Euphrates, all right? When you look at it on a map. And the utmost sea is the Red Sea, all right? Which is the eastern shore, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, all right? And that area, okay? This is what's happening right now. The Lord is mustering the battle right now. World War III is at hand right now as we speak. The Lord is putting everything in place, and these prophecies are speaking loud and clear. And it's just overwhelming how Jake just doesn't, you don't get it. You don't see what's happening right before thine eyes. All right, and this is actually going into, 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter. All right, starting from up top. That's literally World War III. All right, in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Right, the Lord's decision, where he will plead with the nations for what has been done to the true children of Israel. Because when you learn through the Bible and through the scriptures, when the true children of Israel are brought back to that land, there will be no war. All the world with no peace. Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, will be here, because this will be his kingdom. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done here on earth as it is in heaven. So if those are the real people, where's the Lord? Where's the rest of the 10 tribes? Why are we still at war? Nowhere in the scriptures does it say when the people, the real people, are brought back over there in the land in the end, that they're going to have to fight now. You see? So Luke 21:24 is making itself. Matter of fact, I'm going to grab this really quick. It's one of my favorite go-to verses. So you get some understanding here. Luke 21:24 says what? And they shall fall by the edge of the sword. Who shall fall? The real Israelites. And shall be led away captive into all nations, right? During the diaspora, right? And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, the Israelis, until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. We are at the fulfillment. You see? So this is why all these nations are in an uproar, right? And all these things are getting ready to happen. This is why the weak are saying that I am strong, right? As a matter of fact, let's go back let me grab Joel 3:9. Let's go here. And it says what? Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of the war draw near. Let them come down. Come down to where? Over to the Middle East. The Lord again is mustering the battle, as we said. right? Making all of these things happen, right? It goes on to say, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, and let the weak say, I am strong. You see that? So we know the Iranians, along with some of these other, Middle Eastern countries, were once at one time very weak in the sense of technology and nuclear warfare and capabilities, right? But now today they have developed the advanced nuclear weaponry, right? So the plowshares and the pruning hooks, all right, these are all farming tools, and they are parables speaking about the advancement of technology and military spending, turning the attention from agriculture and farming, irrigation and things and whatnot, into weapons of war, nuclear capability, ICBM missiles, right? Once at one point they didn't have any, they were weak, and now they are speaking boldly, right? You see, and so now you have this discourse and this divide that's going on that the nations understand. The nations smell blood, all right? And the word is now that they are saying that the United States is weak, all right? They're losing control over the Middle East region. Allies like Israel are not communicating well with the U.S., all right? And so they're basically claiming U.S. to be incompetent. They're saying that the United States administration has lost control and incompetent in that whole area over there, okay? But again, all this is going back to prophecy. You see?
Which is all of the proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, saying that they are prepared for war. And again, this being confirmed by the United States, Anthony Blinken, Defense Secretary, coming out and warning the G7 just a couple hours ago to prepare for war in the Middle East.
Right, Isaiah 14:4. That thou shalt take up a proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how is the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Right, America. Scripture says America or Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Right? It goes on to say, the Lord has broken the staff of the wicked and the scepters of the rulers. Right. The wicked. Malachi 1:4 lets you know who the wicked are. Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man. Okay, so America is what? Pretty much losing its superpower status. All right? The Lord is making mockery of this place, man, and all of the nations are beginning to see this, and they no longer have that fear that they used to have pertaining to America, all right? One of the main reasons is because there's great divide within our governments and citizens alike, right? This place has become weakened, okay? You look at who, you got President Biden, right, who dementia and all kind of, who knows what else is going on with him, and now we getting ready to, what, put a woman in the power seat? The nations are losing their mind. This is comedy. A woman, you see? Scripture talks about how the order is supposed to go. Scripture lets it be known that a woman should not usurp authority over a man. Now, all these other nations, all these other great militaries and superpowers are going to see that actual woman is in the power seat over here in America. That's supposed to be the hammer of the earth. So you see why all these things are happening. That's mockery. Ultimately, the Lord is pretty much revealing and showing America's shame to the world, man. And America's becoming that what? That laughing stock to the nations. Right? So along with that great divide between the government and the cities, the citizens, the sanctions aren't working anymore. Right? And chiefly because when all the sanctions were put on Russia, what happened? Russia began to prosper even more so. Right? And the nations saw that. All right, and that emboldened them. Right? So America is beginning to lose its power, and this is why this third woe or World War III must take place. Right? In order to them to retain that superpower status, which is not going to happen inevitably. America has become weakened. Right? When you look at World War II, one of the main reasons why World War II was so prevalent in America is because it allowed us to establish that superpower status via the USD. Right? The currency of the world. Right? But now that's being challenged. Why? Because you have Russia, you have all these other BRIC nations now that are coming together. As the USD is declining, they're trading and doing all kind of traffic and trade, all right, in their own currency. And America's still trying to hold on to the glory days. And it's that time for America to be at its end. right? Job 14:5 says that the Lord set its bounds, which he set his bounds that he cannot pass. So we're at the point where he can't pass his bounds, right? We have each reached the end of Edom's system. Okay, his soothsayers, his enchantments, right? None of these things are working anymore. Like I said, the shame of America is being exposed all around the world. And chiefly by way of who? The prophets, the men of the Lord out here that are bringing this place down through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. His words being published. Because as we say, I always like to say in the world, a lie cannot live forever, right? This goes on to say, Isaiah 14:6. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruleth the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. Right. Now who's that who struck all the nations in anger with sanctions and wars, right? Going over to these different countries, setting up their own puppets, killing their leaders, stealing their resources, pushing their democracy and their philosophies onto these nations. And if they didn't do it, they were going to be destroyed by way of what? American military. You see how this is all being put together now? So again, all the sanctions, the democracy, the ideologies, the nations are now waking up to the fact that they have not benefited in any way, shape, or form by taking on the philosophies or the fashion, right, of Babylon the Great, and they're angry. So destruction has come upon Babylon, aka America, and there will be no nation to help defend it. Okay? And all this really goes back to because what you put out in the earth is going to come back. And America is a very hypocritical nation. You think back in the days of the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? What did America do? America held the Soviet Union accountable for any attacks that would come from Cuba. Why? Because Cuba was a proxy for the Soviet Union, right? So the U.S. feels the same method should be in place for Iran. So not only should Israel hold Iran accountable for the escalation or any things that are going on over there in the proxies with Hezbollah, but the United States should do the same. You see, so World War III is here. Revelations 17 says the beast, NATO, is going to hate the whore, America, and make her desolate and burn her with fire. You see? So the U.S. allies are going to turn on America. NATO is going to turn on America, leaving the U.S. and Israel only to fend for themselves. Going back to what? The first precept we brought out, Jeremiah 50:45. The least of the flock shall draw them out, which Israel's doing right now, raising up all the nations of the earth, right? And shall make her place desolate along with her. You see? By way of thermonuclear fire, right? So this is why the nation, matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to Joel 3 so you can see how the Lord is doing his work. This is Joel 3:2. I will also gather all the nations and will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? The Middle East. Right? The Lord's decision. That's happening right now. And it says, there I will plead with them for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations. Right? We went over that. The diaspora, right? Being scattered into all the different nations via slave ships. Right? Luke 21:24. We went over that. And have parted my lands. Does that not happen? The 1948ers, the heathens, the Amalek, the small hats, and Ishmael, the Arabs, split the Lord's lands, and they're fighting over it right now to this very day. So this is why the Lord is gathering all the nations over there right now. All right, this is prophecy. All right, and during this World War III, when all this stuff really starts to turn up, right, and the nations begin to fight one another, at that same time, the Lord is going to appear with all the hosts of heaven and the angels, right? And all the nations are pretty much going to stop fighting amongst each other, right? And they're going to band together to try and attempt to fight the Lord and his angels. And they're going to be utterly destroyed. Okay? And again, that's written in 2nd Esdras 13:11. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm just going to go to it. You might as well get this meat now. I wasn't going to go to it, but I'm going to go to it. Here we are here. Might as well go ahead and just get it. You know. Salaki, if I'm kind of all over the place, but if the Spirit's with you, you're going to have understanding of what's going on here. All right. I'm going to go down to about 11. It says, and it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream. And this is the prophet Esdras, where he was given a vision, a dream by night. And lo, rose a wind from the sea, and it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, a man waxed strong with thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. This is Yahushua and the angels returning. You can read this. John got this same vision, right, in Revelations, the 1st chapter, when you read the 7th verse. Okay, it goes on to say, verse 4, and whatsoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. Right, so this is the Lord destroying. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four corners of heaven to subdue the man that came from the sea. Right, so what's that sea talking about? It's talking about the atmosphere. Because in beginning creation, remember, there's waters beneath and there's waters above. There's waters above in the firmament. So that's how he's coming down. So that's what it's talking about, the sea. Yahushua breaking, cracking the clouds, coming through the firmament, the waters above, down here on the earth. You follow me? And he says, but I beheld, and lo, he had graven himself a great mountain and flew upon it. But I would have seen the region or place wherein the heel was graven, but I could not. Right, because he's talking about a chariot. Right, this was on a mountain, but it was that big where he couldn't see where it even came from. He couldn't, he thought that this was something that was moved from someplace in the earth. This is how massive this ship was. Right? And it goes on to say, Salakia, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they which gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, yet durst fight. All the nations over there in the valley of Jehoshaphat, in the Middle East, during World War, are fighting right now. And they all stop in the middle of fighting in World War III. This is a future prophecy. This is going to happen. They're going to see the Lord coming, and they're going to try, and they're going to be afraid. But what does it say? And durst fight. What does that mean? The Lord's going to make them fight. He's going to put the spirit in them to fight. Hell, if he's got to take over the actual technology of the jets to make them, he's going to make them fight. Right? It says, and lo, he saw the violence of the multitude that came, and he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword or any instrument of war. It's talking about Yahushua. He see them all coming. But only I saw as it was sent out of his mouth, and has been seen out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. Right. This is talking about destruction, laser beams, fire, a power from another realm. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which were prepared to fight. Right, all the nations of the world that were fighting in that are going to be fighting in World War III. And he burned them up, every one, so that upon the sudden of the innumerable multitude, nothing was perceived, but only the dust and the smell of smoke. And when I saw this, I was afraid. You see that? So Esdras was in utter fear when he saw this vision that the Lord gave him. So this is what's coming to this place. You see? Matter of fact, I'm going to jump down here and it's going to actually give you, let me see, where is it at? It's going to give the account. It's going to actually, I'm going to have it where it's going to break down the interpretation. Because you have to understand in the scriptures, a lot of, most of the prophets, they were writing things down and they didn't understand what they were seeing. Even at times when the angels broke them down or gave them an explanation to what they were seeing, they still didn't get it. Why? Because they weren't living back then in the times that we're living in now. They never seen ICBM missiles, right? They never seen they never seen Raptors and all of these different military vehicles and equipment and technology. He was only given a vision of it, so he didn't understand what those things were. But now that we're living in the time that we see them and he know exactly what that's talking about. The Spirit is letting it be known. Oh, that's talking about a missile. That's talking about this, so forth and so on. You see? Matter of fact, so let's go down here to 21. Let's get it. The interpretation of the vision shall I show thee, and I will open unto thee the thing that thou hast required. Right, so the angel is getting ready to give him the vision. Let's go down to 25. This is the meaning of the vision, whereas thou sawest a man coming up from the midst of the sea. This is talking about Yahushua. right? And it says, and he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth, right? So when Yahushua comes, he's seeing all of the action, all of the war that's taking place on the earth, all of the nations clashing. And one shall undertake to fight against another, right? Because during this time in World War III, the whole world is going to be in chaos. Nations, civil war, everything is just going to be run amok. It's going to be anarchy, right? It says to undertake and fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. And it goes on to say, and at the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen which I showed thee before, and then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending. Right. So this is talking about how the Lord is going to basically show the world when Yahushua returns. Revelations 1 and 7, what we just talked about. Okay, and all the nations, all eyes shall see him. Goes on to say, and when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle that they have one with another. You see that? So all the fighting and everything that's going on, all that war, they're going to stop. They're going to see Yahushua and they're going to stop fighting. And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together as thou sawest, willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. Right. So during World War III, all the nations are going to stop fighting and band together to try and fight Yahushua. But he shall stand up upon the top of the mount of Zion, and Zion shall come and shall be shown to all men, being prepared and builded like as thou sawest the hill graven without hands. Right. So that's the scene that's being set. Yahushua has appeared, and he sees all the nations down there that have gathered up to fight him. So understand, again, he's giving them the interpretation of the earlier part of this chapter, which we're reading. And this son shall rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations, and which for their wicked life are fallen into tempest, right? Falling into destruction. You see? And shall lay before their evil thoughts and their torments, wherein they shall begin to be tormented, which are like unto a flame. And he shall destroy him without labor by the law, which is like unto me. So that's a cut for y'all that's saying that the law is done away with. No, it's not done away with. That's the reason why Yahushua came, because we couldn't keep it perfectly. We were given that faith and that grace period to rehearse the righteous acts, Judges 5 and 11. Because we can't keep it perfectly until we're back in our new bodies. Okay? So this is the understanding that's given. This is World War III. We literally read it right here in the scriptures. Okay? Now, I don't know if you guys remember or not, but there was an interview that Ronald Reagan said back in the 80s. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and pull it. Okay? And he said exactly what we're reading.
More than a century ago, a young Frenchman, Alexis de Tocqueville, visited America. After that visit, he predicted that the two great powers of the future world would be, on one hand, the United States, which would be built, as he said, by the plowshare, and on the other, Russia, which would go forward again, as he said, by the sword. Yet need it be so? Cannot swords be turned to plowshares? Can we and all nations not live in peace? In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
See that? You can't make this up. Did he not just say exactly what we read? Putting all of the world's differences aside and banding together, all because of some outside alien force coming in to destroy us. Isn't that what we just read? And he said this in the 80s. So he talks about, is there not an alien force among us already? Of course. It's the children of Israel. The ones that the Lord is getting ready to redeem, right? This is what's happening right now. This is what's on the forefront. These people have always known. Why do you think they've kept you at the bottom, Jake? Killing and destroying you, poisoning our food, shooting us down in cold blood. Right? Look at our atrocities. Lynchings, KKK, redlining, Black Wall Street. It's always been the fight against Jacob and Esau, the so-called black and so-called white man, since the beginning. Going back to what? 2nd Ezra 6:9. Esau is the end of the world. This is his rulership. Isaac, our forefather, blessed Esau with the Fakia. Isaac handed out 2 blessings, one to Jacob and one to Esau. Right? He blessed Esau with the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth. How? By way of the sword shall thou live. Killing, the killing instruments. Death, destruction. That's how he obtained the fatness of the earth. Did we just not go over that? World War II, right? Sanctioning nations, all because of what? His military, which is his sword, his philosophies, his religion. All these things bring death. And he's pushed it throughout the earth. And all of the nations complied with it. That's how Esau gained the fatness of the earth. By fear of death. And now we're at the end of his rulership. So these people have always seen this. Ronald Reagan said this in the 80s, which lets you know, again, they've always known who you were, Jake. You see? He wanted to say, and I thought it was heavy, he said that the U.S. is going to be what? It was going to be built. The guy basically prophesied, and he could have been a Jake. Who knows? Said the U.S. is going to be built up by what? Plowshares. Right? Which are who? The Hebrew Israelites brought here on slave ships. Did we not build up America? Right? In hard bondage and labor. And he says Russia will go forth again by way of what? The sword to destroy America. That's heavy. Matter of fact, let's get this. What is Jeremiah 50 and right here, 41. Behold, a people shall come up from the north, a great nation, which is Russia. Because when you look at the map, Russia is north of America. And a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. Right. So Ezekiel 38, which many of the brothers, the prophets that are out here, the brothers all over the world, if we all prophesied about this, starting with our head apostles on down. Right. We know that Ezekiel 38 is what? Talking about Russia spearheading this World War III. All right, being a guard unto Iran and all these other nations that are going to come against America. You see, it goes on to say, so they shall hold, 42, verse 42, and they shall hold the bow and lance, talking about missiles. And they are cruel and will not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses. Horses mean what? Power. Right? Everyone put in array, like as a man to battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. Who's the daughter of Babylon? So that's not talking about the actual Babylon, the daughter, right? Because we know America knows that it is the ancestor, or Babylon, ancient Rome is America's ancestor. You see? So it says, they shall ride upon horses, everyone put in battle array. Missiles. You can read about that in Joel, the 2nd chapter. That's talking all about missiles. You see? It goes on to say, the king of Babylon has heard the report. Right. How has he heard it? Through the prophets that are out here. And that's why these people are scrambling. Revelations 12:12 says what? Behold, the devil is coming down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. So this is a terrible, dreadful sound that's in his ear that Job speaks about. This is the report. And his hands waxed feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as a woman in travail. You see that? And that's what's going on right now. That's what's happening right now. Because they see that their end is near. The prophecies are speaking and they know it. All right? So, like I said, it's ironic that now, these plowshares, right, which he speaks about, being turned into or should I say, these swords being turned into plowshares. Well, yeah, all that can happen. It's going to happen. But after you, the wicked Esau, Edom, are taken out of rulership, only then will that happen. Only then will the world know peace. Only then will peace be established. Right? And those swords turning into pruning hooks, right? Basically meaning all the time you spent, right? All that energy you put into weaponry, you're going to be putting into getting to work, right? Matter of fact, let me grab this. Isaiah 2:4. And he shall judge. Matter of fact, I'm going to bring this up here so you can see it. For those of you who just can't follow along here. Let's grab that. Let's highlight that. And he shall judge the nations and shall rebuke many people. Who? Yahushua. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Right. They're going to work. Here's the point. And nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. This is when the true children of Israel are back in the land. So why isn't that happening right now? Why are we in the middle of World War III? Because those aren't the real people of the land. And they're being exposed and they know it. You see, so all this is happening ultimately because this is their end. And the Lord is getting ready to come deliver his elect, man. This is a wonderful time to be alive. And like I said, these people have always known it. They've always known who we were. All right? So, hey, look, I pray this message is edifying unto those who are meant to receive it. Again, Slack, if I was a little bit all over the place, there was just precepts and things were coming. And if the Spirit's rocking with you, you're going to be able to understand exactly what was said because you were meant to. All right, so with that, I want to give all honors and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim HaKakodash. Shalom.